All right, welcome back to another edition of Narrative, The Road to 100. I'm Cedric Scott Jr. here with Black AI Media, and I have an amazing guest. Today, I'm sitting with Richard Mathenge, and we are going to get into some of his background, his current work and initiatives within the technology and AI space. And this is amazing because we are global officially. And as I understand it, Richard, you are currently in Nairobi, Kenya. Is that accurate?
Absolutely.
Wonderful. I really appreciate you taking the time to join, to share your insights, any information that you can with that. But I do want to open the floor briefly before we get into any questions and just allow you to provide any introduction for yourself. Tell folks, who you are, what you do, and then we'll jump into our actual interview.
So my name is Richard Mathenge. I'm an AI policymaker, global AI policymaker, human rights activist, especially with respect to AI and data formation here in Kenya and Africa. And right now I'm actually working on a number of things, key amongst them, upskilling individuals, young individuals in Nairobi and all over Kenya, and also empowering them in as far as AI is concerned. And also, in addition to that, I'm also a human rights activist in as far as AI is concerned. This is actually about fighting for the rights of individuals working in the AI industry in Kenya and Africa, and trying to address issues that they actually grapple with within the AI sector. Thank you.
And I appreciate that. And it's definitely an awesome opportunity, I think, for myself, for anybody listening, to hear your insights, hear your story, and definitely consider, because, in terms of AI, we might be kind of positioned and really just focusing on where we are locally, regionally, nationally, internationally, for myself being in the US, but hearing what's happening in other parts of the world, especially with people across the African diaspora, people that look like us, and just the work and the effort that you're putting in. So I'm appreciative of that, and I look forward to getting into it. I want to jump in with kind of our driving question, which is going to position, I think, the entire conversation here with narrative in. I want to preface it in the context of AI technology. And that question is, what does narrative mean to you?
Narrative for me is actually a conversation. It's a continuous conversation that was initiated probably a long time ago, or has been initiated recently, but it is continuous. And the fact that it is continuous means there is no end in sight, and it encompasses all cultures, it encompasses all jurisdictions, borders, and it's not limited to any region. And so, for me, a narrative is sort of like a conversation that happens all around the world or within a particular sphere of jurisdiction. It can happen in the US, it can happen right here in Nairobi, it can happen in both regions, the US and in Nairobi. It can happen all over the world. And so for me, a narrative is something that is continuous and something that involves people to chip in and be part of the conversation. So that, to me, is my understanding of narrative.
So I love that idea around it being a conversation rather than just a kind of a single soliloquy. And with that, I do want to hear a little bit about your background. So in terms of technology and AI, can you tell us about your journey? How did you get started? I mean, were you tinkering as a young child? And then how do those experiences initially with technology and AI, more specifically, how do those lead to where you are today?
My journey in the area of AI is actually interesting because I never studied I never studied anything related to IT or AI. What I was trained in was completely different. I was trained in journalism and public relations. At a certain point in my life, I found myself, experiencing this detour from public relations and journalism to AI, where a friend of mine just recommended me to try it out, and I did. True to that word, I did try to send my application to one of the organizations, and I found myself in that organization as an employee. That's the interesting bit, because I never trained in AI. I never trained in IT. It was just some sort of luck, for lack of a better word, how I found myself in AI.
I'm interested in that too because, especially with AI being, relatively new, I guess, in context for a lot of people and how we're using it now, um, and with a lot of people moving into the space, and I think from different industries beginning to figure out use cases and things like that. I think a lot of people kind of have, introductory experience, I think, at this point. So with you, did you do anything like, I guess, technical in terms of training or, um, I don't know, boot camps, or was it more independent study when it comes to getting into the AI space? As you mentioned, somebody introduced you to it, says hey, you should check this out. But from there, were you reading books? Were you listening to podcasts, or what kind of was that? I think the learning pathway to get more information.
Well, it had nothing to do with books. It had nothing to do with podcasts either. It had everything to do with a very robust support system. People training you and giving you insight of what AI is all about. And that's how I grew from day to day in this field. And these are individuals who are well learned, well empowered in terms of AI stuff, or AI things related to AI, or things centered around AI. And that's how, on a daily basis, I found myself getting to know more about what AI is all about and what it involves generally. Yes.
I think what I'm hearing is that you had more of a practical learning pathway, more of a hands-on approach, and I can identify with that. I think for me, I'm definitely more of a kinesthetic learner.
Mhm.
I like to actually engage with things, in order for me to get more experience and understand it better. So I can respect and appreciate that. And so thinking about now, looking at your career, and potential impact that you want to have. As I understand it, you are currently working on a project and an initiative. Can you share a little bit about that work?
So basically, a couple of months ago, my friends and I joined hands, having a background in AI. We joined hands and joined efforts to see how we can address issues to help young individuals who want to involve themselves in as far as AI is concerned, who want to grow in the AI field. So we started off this non-governmental organization. It's called TechWorker Community Africa. So basically, the mission for TechWorker Community Africa, which is abbreviated as TCA, is to upskill individuals in high school, especially individuals who are just about to graduate from high school to college, and train them about AI, what AI is all about, what they need to know, what they don't need to know, their rights in as far as AI is concerned, what is data manipulation, and all these things about AI. So number one, the main assignment is to upskill these individuals. Then number two is to empower them. And how do we empower them? We train them as well. We we are using training centers to empower these individuals so that by the time they're graduating out of high school, or they are graduating from high school, they are able to understand what exactly AI is all about. These are individuals who are very adventurous, by the way, and so their mind is quite fresh coming from high school. They are able to juggle a million and one things at a given sitting. So AI being a world phenomena right now, they are actually asking themselves so many questions. What is AI? all about. What do I need to do to get into AI? What are the pros and cons in as far as AI is concerned? If I get into this field, what are the murky areas that I can jump over, or I can mitigate? These are the very key fundamental issues that we bring across board so that we can empower these individuals or empower these young people so that they can get to understand what AI is all about. So that's the main project that we are working on as TCA.
I love that. And I definitely like the tie-in with younger people. Myself being in the education space primarily, I definitely think that that's a great area of focus. Of course, considering the future, right? They say that children are the future, so why not harness our energies and attention there? So I appreciate what you've shared.
But the projects that we are working on right now, they have some sensitivity in them, and we are trying as well to be very diplomatic in as far as this is concerned. Also, we are trying as well, because TCA, just as I informed you, it's just a fresh organization, and we are trying as much as possible to see how we can bring on board well wishers from all around the world to assist in as far as the projects are concerned. So the projects that we are working on are ongoing, and they are very sensitive as well in nature. And I would love to bring you on board as well in the near future, just to inform you what exactly we are working on. It will be my pleasure.
Of course. And yeah, we can definitely make sure that, at following up here, we definitely want to keep track of really anybody that we talk to within this space, as far as narrative, our road to 100, but not necessarily have that just be the end of it. We want to actually continue on, keep up with everybody, and still be there to support and help out and add wherever possible with the things that we're hearing. So I appreciate that, and definitely understand the some of the nuance and sensitivities around what you're creating. And with that, I wanted to go back a little bit and think about even just more backstory and thinking broad scope for you, and how that leans into your work within the AI space. Was there a defining moment in your career, as you mentioned, as you were getting started, where you realized the potential impact of the work that you could do in the tech and AI space? And what did that time look like? If you can share any experience there.
Absolutely. At some point in my career, I was working for an organization by the name Majorel. Majorel is all about it's an AI organization that outsources work from the West. And in my capacity, I could see how young individuals were being recruited from the informal settlements and right here in Nairobi. Then they're promised work for 3 months. And these 3 months was not sufficient for them. And so in my capacity, I tried as much as possible to fight that aspect of, subjecting individuals for short-term contracts, and the defining moment for me was when I found myself on the wrong side of the divide, and, the organization just, fired me. And right from that, I knew that it was about time to bring out the voice and address issues as they are, to avoid issues replicating themselves, or the ripple effect of what we are grappling with. And so out of that, by the way, that's how we formed TechWorker Community Africa, because the issues, it was not just about Richard. It was not just about someone else. It was something that was likely to explode with time. And so to avoid the explosion, it had to take that moment, to step up and say, enough is enough. Should not be happening to Africans. It should not be happening to young men of color, young women of color. We also have our rights, and the rights that we have need to be expressed in the best way possible. And these are individuals who are not able to fight for themselves, and they're not able to say anything. They're just there to earn a living at the end of the month. But is this living sustainable within those 3 months? It's not. And because it's not, we had to, speak out. I had to speak out and say, this has to come to an end. So that, to me, was the defining moment.
And I have to ask, thinking about your work with TCA, TechWorker Community Africa, um, when you made that decision, I mean, I would imagine that might have been a little scary. Was there any apprehension or hesitation on your part to do that, or was it just, within you, it was kind of a roaring thing, and you were like, I just got to do it?
I don't think there was any form of hesitation or intimidation from my end. Remember when we were employed in the organization, I had the audacity to confront the big people within the organization and tell them this needs to come to an end. And for me to get laid off or for me to get fired, it was just as a result of what exactly the bravado that I had initiated within the organization. The firing part was not something that was peculiar. I knew that was the worst that could happen, and so being outside the organization, it gave me even more reason to raise my voice and say, now that I'm not bound to the organization, in one way or another, I can speak as loud as I can about issues that are, that young individuals are grappling with within the organization. And, what exactly I have seen is something that needs to be addressed. Because the individuals that were working within the organization were not, these are brilliant individuals, but they're not comfortable. They're on the brink of depression within the organization. So I had to do something. So for me, for us starting TCA, it was not an easy, or neither was it a hard thing. I knew at some point this had to happen and something had to be done.
You saw the need, stepped in, filled that void, and I know that everybody that's associated with TCA is appreciative, of your efforts, and I want to say, major shout outs to you and thank you for doing that. Has there been, I guess, any challenges kind of along the way in terms of what you're producing, what you're building with TCA, and not necessarily just from pushback from any kind of issue or particular person or situation, but even like I guess the process of producing and crafting an organization like this structurally. Have you run into anything there that might help some of the listeners if they're building out community or something along those lines that could help them?
At first, it was a bit of a struggle, especially knowing that we were getting into a field we've never gotten before. But as time went by, we realized that with the confidence and the courage that we had, we realized that sooner rather than later, we had to do that. So that's number one. Number two, I would say it's majorly to do with finances, because we do have well-documented proposals, well-documented plans to address the needs that we have always been grappling with. But sometimes finances is actually a big hindrance to the fruition of the idea or the ideas that we have formulated over time. So those are the two major impediments that we can actually mention per se.
Is the idea then that TCA would grow and expand, or are you more so focused locally? And I guess how much do you see the financial aspects being a part of that?
I would be very very ignorant to just to limit the vision of TCA to Nairobi or Africa. We are looking at having an engagement, and it's not just finances. It's ideas as well. We are looking at situations where we can partner with the global community and become one big family, inspire us, empower us in whatever manner, help each other grow from one level to another. So I would be very ignorant to say or to restrict the vision of TCA.
That's great to hear. So I know within our scope and network, even some of the people that I've spoken with, I definitely think that there's some potential for connections to grow, collaborations, networking, and I'm really excited that we've had this time to actually sit and have you share your story and what you're doing with TCA, so that we can actually get that out there. And there could be some great potential, I think, for some of those partnership opportunities, which I know other people are looking for too, regardless of where you are in the world. Working together is definitely, I think, a lot of people, if we're thinking intelligently and more broad spectrum, I think that's where a lot of people's mind it currently is, especially if we're talking about the AI space in particular, related to technologies and things like that. So definitely hear you there. And I'm curious, in terms of TCA, as you're building it out, have you found that you are abiding by, or there are certain principles or values that are guiding the organization at the core structure? And how are you carrying those things out?
Yes, some of the values that we hold very dear to the place of society and not just the organization is, values that include hard work, integrity, compassion to, the greater society that are uh, we are here to serve. As you said, when this conversation was starting, or when this interview was starting off, AI is, it's here and it's for the future. And because it's here and it's for the future, we need to hold these values so that we can become relevant, or we can have a very lengthy lifespan. Otherwise, if these values are not enshrined at the core of what we do, then individuals will be very quick to suspect what TCA or who TCA are. And so compassion, integrity, hard work, these are the values, some of the values that we have enshrined at the core of what we do.
Yes, really thinking about, in terms of where we are with AI and the potential, for a lot of the things that can be done. I think we're kind of really at kind of an interesting intersection of a lot of things within the space, and building community as you're doing, I think is going to be really paramount for the success of many people. Is there one thing that you really want people to understand about what you're doing within your organization?
Yes. So the training and the upskilling that we undertake is basically mostly involves girls and girls' schools within the country. And the place of women in our lives or in society is not something that we can underscore. It's not something that we can take lightly. Everyone has a relationship with a woman. If not your wife, then it's your mother. If not your mother, then it's your daughter. In one way or another, we have this place for women in our lives. And because of this, the significance of training young girls is the impact that the society can get when these young ladies or when these young girls are well informed or well empowered. Not to say that we don't value the place of the boy child. It's very interesting that I am a dude, and I'm expected to influence or you mentor young boys as well. But as we mentor these young ladies, as we speak to these young ladies, they are able as well to influence the boy child as well and tell them the impact that can be generated when you train these young ladies is so huge. We are looking in future as well to start off an initiative for boys, and this I'm sure will be taken in very, very positively.
Yes, I do wholeheartedly agree with your sentiment about. I mean, I think it would be really silly of us to even attempt to underscore, the relevance and the importance and the impact that women have on our lives, on society. I mean, just on life, right? I mean, clearly, and within that, I'm also, it made me reflect on, many of the women that I've worked with, known in my family, my own mother, rest her soul. Women are multipliers.
Yeah.
So when we went, just thinking about the potential that we see whenever, young women have that spark, whenever we talk about, STEM related fields or anything like that. The women that I've been in, I mean, even in my college courses and things like that, in working professionally, my wife, I just see that there's just a continual growth and exponential impact that
Mm-hmm.
exists here. So I definitely think that for us as men, making sure that we are not undermining that and what that could do for everyone on the planet, really.
Yeah.
I think that that's extremely important. So I definitely commend you on that. I want to talk a little bit more about with TCA, with the initiative. If you had unlimited resources, how would you expand the reach of TCA?
That question is very interesting because it is not money or the resources that determines the expansion. If I was actually speaking to my father some time back, and he was actually instilling in me some values and some very nice words of wisdom. And he asked me some time back, he asked me, Richard, if you can have a choice of 1 million shillings or dollars, or I give you unlimited resources in terms of books, what will be your choice? I said, just give me books, because the books, will give me an upper hand and some knowledge of how to make the $1 million. And so for me, it's for TCA, it's about what you give, what you live in me, and not what you give to me. It's what you live inside me that is important, and not what you give to me that is important. Because what you give to me, it has some expiry date, it has some end to it. But when what you live inside me has a way of affecting society positively.
And I wholeheartedly understand where your dad was coming from with that.
Mm-hmm.
And, even thinking about, personally, I have a scholarship fund that I've created in memory of my mother. So that literally is the embodiment of what you just said. It's based on, right, those principles, those ideals. The wealth is in the information, and of course, you have to apply it, and we're seeing that with what you're doing with TCA, where you're actually not just, you don't just have the idea or just feel a burning passion to do something. You actually go forth and do it, and I think that with that information, with those million books, right, or the knowledge of that, putting that into actual practice. We're going to get ready to close out here, but what legacy do you hope that you and or TCA leaves behind in the world when it comes to technology, AI, and just social impact and community?
Very simple. I mean, our purpose in life, or my purpose in life, is just to leave a mark, or leave a place much better than how I found it. Simply, just leaving a place and leaving someone much better than I found them.
Yeah, I think that's beautiful, and a good way to move into even closing remarks. I think I just appreciate your time so much. Is there anything else that you'd like to share with the audience about TCA, about yourself?
So yes, first of all, let me appreciate you for giving us this opportunity on behalf of TCA and the young individuals we are mentoring, or the young ladies we are mentoring. By the way, the young ladies that we mentor, we try as much as possible at times to support them with sanitary towels and things that are very crucial in their day-to-day activities, and that's our place in society. And we appreciate whatever support that comes along in whatever nature to assist these young ladies. Having said that, we try as much as possible to leave a mark, not just to these young ladies or to these young girls, but to the society at large. And it is platforms such as these ones that give us an exposure or an opportunity to express what TCA is all about. The existence of TCA, we're not just here to exist, we are just here to live. And when we live our lives as TCA, we are able to impact the larger society, not just the individuals who we visit in schools, but also their parents, their siblings, and everyone else who is in one way or another involved in the daily lives of these young ladies. So thank you very much once again for this platform. I am extremely, extremely grateful on behalf of TCA, and hoping to, have a narrative and not just a today conversation.
Most definitely. And also related to some of the things that you shared, can you go ahead and just let the listeners know where can they connect with you? Where can they connect with TCA? Where can they offer those supports for some of those other products and sanitary resources for the young ladies? If you can just lay out where we can go to access those things or offer our support, that would be greatly appreciated as well.
Absolutely. So you can connect with me on LinkedIn, Richard Mathenge, as well as TCA. TCA as well is on LinkedIn, TechWorker Community Africa. When you visit TechWorker Community Africa, you will see the website also on the profile. There is a donate button on our website where you can donate something on the website, and we will be extremely grateful.
Thank you for that. All right. So if you've been listening, you have heard an amazing narrative from Richard Mathenge in TechWorker Community Africa, TCA for short. Make sure that you follow up, check in with what he is doing with the initiative, and come on back for the next edition of Narrative, The Road to 100 with Black AI Media. And I'm your host, Cedric Scott Jr. Peace until next time.